You're listening to the St. Louis Roi de France Médias podcast for Holy Mother Church, for the salvation of souls.
Thank you very much for tuning in to the St. Louis Roi de France Media podcast. I am your host, Christopher. I'm also the founder of St. Louis Roi de France Media. A couple disclaimers before we get into this podcast. The first disclaimer is this inaugural podcast is completely unscripted. So I have no notes, I have no key points or outline or anything like that. So a lot of it is going to be off the top of my head. You will hear a lot of ums and ahs, uhs. I do apologize for that. And second, my second disclaimer is I am not a theologian. I do not have a doctorate in sacred theology. I do not have one of those degrees from a pontifical university in Rome. I have a degree, but I don't have any kind of Catholic degree or master's in biblical biblical history or biblical theology or any of that. So I'm just a simple layman, husband, father, Catholic, who's on a mission to bring the gospel to people, by maybe not necessarily any means necessary, but certainly using the internet and using audio to be able to get that message out. So again, I don't have a background in theology. So what I'm going to end up doing is when I do mention something that has to do with the faith, usually I'm going to point to a source, something greater than me. If I don't, I do apologize. I'm not perfect like most people out there are. But anyways, that's my 2 cents, and we'll leave that be. So let's go ahead and get into this. Typically, a podcast is probably going to be no more than 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Anything longer than that, I'll probably lose the audience. But I'm going to try and keep it interesting. I'm going to try and keep it, something that's going to keep the attention. And I'm obviously going to be open to a lot of feedback. I've never really done anything like this. This has been a long time waiting. This particular podcast, I've been wanting to do this for months and months and months. Right now we're kind of in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic, and that's kind of upset a lot of things. And I've been working from home, and I've got kids that they're going crazy, and so it's kind of difficult, and it's one of those things where you just have to do it. You have to knock out some time, and so finally I'm doing it right now. All right, so to kind of give you a background, and let's go ahead and just dive into this. What is St. Louis Roi de France Media? What is it? What is it for? What's in it for you? What do we do? And so we're going to go into the meat and potatoes of what it is. And basically it's it was a culmination of an idea that I had many years ago. Um, me personally, I'm a cradle Catholic. I was born and raised in the Catholic Church. I've had several different reversions back to the faith, but I never really had. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, but I kind of got away from the church for about 6 months to a year, and then I ended up coming back into the church. I had a reversion, but I was still set in my ways, and I was still leading a sinful life. And I think there's a lot of people out there that can probably, that can relate to that. But I'm not going to get into that. But how Saint Louis Roi de France Media came into existence was pretty much how my wife and I, me more so me personally, coming into traditional Catholic teachings, traditional church, specifically going from the ordinary form of the Mass, which most people know as, or especially in the traditionalist movement, it's called the Novus Ordo, right? The New Order Mass. That's the Mass that majority of the people in the country that are Catholic, practicing Catholics, that actually go to church on Sundays, the majority, 80% of them, they go to a Novus Ordo Mass, which is, the priest is facing you, there's Eucharistic ministers, lay ministers, there's clapping at the end of the Mass to celebrate the wonderful music, and there's some guitars. There might be holding hands at the Our Father, and it just that's unfortunately that's the majority of the church, the Catholic Church. With the Novus Ordo, and there's obviously some exceptions, and there's going to be some more. Churches that are going to be a little bit more reverent. A lot of them are getting away from that because it just people have seen through that, and they want more of a return to order, a return to traditionalism. So, anyways, but we came into, and my wife and I, we've been attending a Latin Mass now for probably about almost 10 years. But we were very ignorant in our faith. Right, just didn't really get a whole lot from the pulpit. We didn't really, when we got our marching orders after church, that was it. The rest of the week was just filled with stuff, and it wasn't filled with anything with the faith. It wasn't filled with anything about trying to deepen in your faith. So you were always left with your scratching your head after the homily, and then you just come back and do it again on the next Sunday. So it was very lukewarm theology, not a whole lot of, Christo-centered knowledge. So it was very, very, very lukewarm. But fortunately, when we were introduced, and and it was actually my wife who knew of the Latin Mass. She knew it from when she was in college. I guess she had attended a Latin Mass just very briefly, and she was constantly alluding to it. We were this was about 9 years ago. It kept coming up in conversations. We should check out a Latin Mass. We should check out a Latin Mass. And I was like, what is this Latin Mass? And so, anyways, how we came into it, I had a personal experience where I actually met somebody that was part of Una Voce, which is the lay organization that does promote the Latin Mass in different dioceses throughout the country. And interesting how I came across this individual. So we were constantly we had different things that were telling us, that we should go to a Latin Mass, inside and outside, that were just kind of helping us out. And so, kind of fast forward, after about a year or two, we're attending Latin Mass. It's like 2011, 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. Our family's starting to, we have a daughter at this point. She's a few years old, and still kind of ignorant about the faith. And my wife was networking at church. She would have conversations with other mothers, and the conversations would be about homeschool. We would talk about homeschool, and my wife would be given some pointers, or how we're going to be using this curriculum and this, and that's the talk that the wives were having. But I do remember one point, I guess she was reaching out to a friend that we are an acquaintance at church, and she was saying, hey, here we are. It's been 2-3 years we've been going to this church. We're blown away by the homilies on Sunday, and so finally we're getting a good rock solid foundation at church on Sunday. But we still feel so ignorant about the faith, and so my wife would asked this one friend. She said, "What do you use to grow deeper in the faith, or what do you use to know?" And she said, "Oh, you got to get this book. It's called the My Catholic Faith book." And she's, and there was a priest of ours at the church who recommended it. And so my wife, she went on Amazon, she ordered it. It comes in, and she showed it to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's great." And I didn't look at it. And it sat on a shelf for weeks. And then it was like a few weeks later that I was having a conversation with my wife, and I was talking about the point in time when all truth is going to be revealed. And I was like, "Honey, what is the name of that point in time? And I wonder what it is." And she looked at me and she's like, "You should pick up the My Catholic Faith book and look that up." And I said, "What? My Catholic Faith? What?" And she's like, "That brown book that I bought 4 weeks ago that you haven't looked at, that's sitting over there on the shelf? That book." So I was like, "What? Okay. All right." So I go over to so I pick it up and start reading and flipping through and looking, and then come to find out, oh, it's the General Judgment. I didn't know. Oh, okay, gotcha. So that kind of was how I started to realize that, and when I started reading the My Catholic Faith book, you got to get this book. We don't personally sell it on the website here, but we do sell the audio, and that's where this is going. I ended up, reading this book, and kind of just flipping through it from different, this lesson to this lesson. It's a long book, and but I do highly recommend it. And so that was it. Once I started reading the book, and I was like, wow, if there was a book that I would turn into an audiobook, it would be this book. For a long time, I'd actually been wanting to turn something into an audio, but of course you have to worry about copyright laws, and I just, I hate copyright laws because there's so much, if you're not careful, you could be infringing on somebody's intellectual property, and so it's got to be something that's in the public domain. And fortunately, the My Catholic Faith book is in the public domain, and so that's kind of how that happened. So the seed was planted in my mind that I was going to take this book and turn it into an audio format, but I didn't know how, I didn't know when, I don't know where, I didn't have any of that information. It never really came to me. And it didn't come to me until after a tragedy happened. The priest that recommended the book to our family, or actually it was to the friend who ended up recommending it to us, the priest's name is Father Walker. Father Walker is was a priest of the priestly fraternity of St. Peter. We have a lot of connections to Father Walker. He had been to our house, the house that we live in. It's the first Epiphany blessing was done by him. He had been to our house and visited us. several times. Wonderful man. Just a wonderful, loving, caring creature of God. Wonderful man. We miss him very much. But it was because of Father Walker that I came to know the My Catholic Faith book from somebody else. It was after his untimely death that I finally made the decision to move forward with turning the My Catholic Faith book into an audiobook. That was it. And again, I had no idea what the heck I was doing, but I knew I had to do something. I knew I wanted to do something. And I went to town. I went to research. I started looking up some stuff. I started looking, as soon as I made that conscious decision to go do it, then I started looking, okay, who's going to read it? Am I going to read it? And I can't stand my voice, and I have a feeling a lot of other people can't stand my voice. So why are they going to listen to me? Maybe they're going to want to listen to somebody else. So I started looking for voiceover artists. And then I started researching for Catholic voiceover artists. And in my findings, I came across one person who, when I came across him and his voiceover artist, his website, I was kind of blown away. When I started typing in like Catholic voiceover artists or Christian voiceover artists, I came across this one gentleman. His name is Steve Webb, and Steve Webb is he is a Christian. He's not a Catholic that I know of, but he is. And what I ended up finding out was, just researching his name, he has several different websites. He has a professional secular website called Steve Webb Voiceovers, or SteveWebbVoiceover.com is one of his websites, and then he also because he is a Christian and he goes to church, and he has his own media like communications company through the church that and I remember going to that website and reading what he says he believes, and I mean it was literally the Apostles' Creed is what I was reading, and I was like, wow, this guy's, if he's not Catholic, he doesn't, he's a Catholic and he doesn't even know it, which was kind of interesting. So, and he had links on this website to, he had just, at this time, this was 2014, he had just completed a 2-year project where he actually read the entire Douay-Rheims Bible. And if you're not familiar with the Douay-Rheims Bible, that is the first official English translation of the Latin Vulgate. And the Latin Vulgate is, of course, the Saint Jerome had compiled like 26, I don't know how many languages it was, but the Bible at the time in the 4th century was in like 20 different languages. And Saint Jerome, over a period of 20 plus years, by the order of one of the Pope at the time, conglomerated everything into one language, the Latin Vulgate. And for centuries, the Bible was in Latin. So the first official English translation into the English language is the Douay-Rheims Bible. And Steve Webb read the entire thing in audio format. He has the entire, so somebody paid him to do this, and somebody else owns the copyrights to this, but I heard when I saw that he read the entire Douay-Rheims Bible, I was like, oh, this is the guy. This is the guy who's going to read the My Catholic Faith. So I contacted him. I sent him an email, and we hit it off. he started asking me questions. Is there copyrights on this? I had to do my research. I contacted there's a company that reproduces this book. It's sold on Amazon and it's sold on a bunch of different websites. I contacted the editor-in-chief of Angelus Press, which is Angelus Press is the publishing wing for the Society of St. Pius X, SSPX. And I talked to them. I talked to the editor, and he said, well, we don't own the rights to this. This is actually in the public domain. And then I contacted a nun at a publishing house in Pennsylvania. The original author of the My Catholic Faith book, Bishop Louis Larivois Moreau, he started a congregation or a monastery for I forget the name of the sisters. I think it's the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they have a publishing wing. They're all over the world, and they're out of India, but they have a publishing house in Pennsylvania. And so I contacted them. I talked to a sister. Her name was Sister Grazia. I remember she said, the My Catholic Faith book is in the public domain. They own the rights to, after Vatican II, the good bishop who's made numerous revisions of this book over the years, eventually just renamed it Our Catholic Faith, and they own the rights to that. And so, but that's all I needed to hear. So I got that over to Steve Webb. I said, hey, this is in the public domain. And then I had no idea. I've never done this before in my entire life. He ended up, he started reading. He started reading online and started looking at the book. And then he came back and he said, "Okay, I agreed to do this work, to read the book." I didn't realize he had to agree to it. I thought he was just going to go ahead, take my money and read. So he ordered the book online, and I signed a work agreement, and that was it. He started to, he would, after about 30 days, he would produce some, and he would send them my way. I would listen to them. It was, without a doubt, a very long and arduous process. It was expensive. I don't think I would ever do it again like that. That's why it's very special. But from start to finish, from the time that I made the decision to move forward with getting the My Catholic Faith audiobook turned into an audio format, start to finish, it was about 9 months and several $1,000s. It was expensive and very long time consuming. So I don't think I will ever do that again. But I had this thing, and I didn't know what to do with it. So it's over 25 hours of audiobook. It's 193 lessons. You got to get the book. It's wonderful. It's absolutely incredible. It will definitely bring you closer into your faith, and it will, if you don't, and I could tell you from firsthand knowledge that there are Catholic churches in the United States that use this book, the My Catholic Faith book, as their catechism. And I found that out when I was selling this stuff. So at first it was in audio format, and I would sell it online as a download. I was advertising on websites. I didn't know where else to start, but I knew it was because there was a lot of homeschooling families that have used it, and it's kind of homeschooling mothers do talk about the book, using it as a catechism for their kids. So that's where I started, and my wife, I started advertising on one of these websites. One of the websites, it was a homeschooling mother, Catholic homeschooling mother's website. It was called oh boy, I'm drawing a blank right now. Shower of Roses. I'm sorry, it's called Shower of Roses. And so I advertised on there, and I got a few sales. I got like 2 or 3, 4 or 5 sales or something like that. People were interested, and they would buy. And then I advertised on Catholic all year. on another Catholic homeschool website. And so it was very slow in trying to use social media to kind of spread the word. It was, like I said, it's very tough, trying to start this thing from the very beginning. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't have the resources, it's very tough. But I was just ignorant, on fire. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just knew I needed to do something and do something fast with this thing. So, after about a year, things kind of cooled off, and then I was like, is this what I really want to do? Is this, selling? And I had a website. It was mycatholicfaithcatechism.com. And I'd spent so much time on the website trying to just make it, and it was all about the My Catholic Faith. That's all it was all about, the My Catholic Faith. And then I came to find out, and then I was like, it's too time consuming, and there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a better way to get this into the hands of people. And so I started researching USB cards, USB drives. And then so I bought 50 USB cards. They're credit card sized USB cards, and with a fixed size amount. I think they were like at the because the entire My Catholic Faith audio was like 3.5 gig in MP3 format. I purchased 50 of these things, and it's ridiculous. That's why I this whole thing is trial and error. But I ended up buying 50 of these USB cards, and I used this other company, and they automatically uploaded everything to these USB cards. And so the next thing I know, about a week later, I get a box shipped, and I have 50 USB cards, and now I got to sell these. And for some reason, I thought that this was going to be a good idea, and I did. I had some sales. And I even had one woman send me an email. And this is how I came to find out that the My Catholic Faith Catechism is actually used by certain churches. And there was this lady that was, her church that she attended was the St. Francis de Sales Oratory in St. Louis, Missouri. And she said, "This is the catechism that we use. Do you guys offer a discount on bulk?" And I was like, I never heard anything from her. I sent her a message, and we kind of just, ships passing in the night. I don't think I really didn't respond to her question in time, and she never really got back with me. But that's the first time I had ever heard that the My Catholic Faith Catechism was the catechism that was being used by a specific church, and specifically it was the St. Francis de Sales Oratory in St. Louis, Missouri. Again, this was back in 2014, 2015 that I found out about all this. So after about a year and a half, 2 years, I'm only making one sale here, one sale there. And I don't like, I just don't have the time and the money to do, or the effort to be able to, sell USB cards from home, because there's inventory, there's cost of sale, and for me, it was just a little bit too much. So I got away from it. And then I shelved the entire idea. I did for about a year or two. And then I just, out of the kindness of my heart, on Christmas, we would, on Christmas Eve Mass, the midnight Mass, I would just start handing them out as Christmas gifts to people. Here, guys, I've been sitting on this, and, Merry Christmas. And just give them a, USB card that we were selling. I think at the time I was selling them for like $40, which, is actually a pretty good deal when you consider the book itself is about $40. And here you're going to have, on a credit card sized USB card, you have 25 hours of Catholic theology and teaching in your hand. I think it's completely worth it. So I shelved the entire idea, and what ended up happening was there's a gentleman at church that at the church that we attend, who's very influential. He's been doing blogging. He's been a Catholic blogger for quite some time, and he has a large sphere of influence. Wonderful man, and I have to give a shout out to Mr. Steve Skocek from 1 Peter 5. He, I came up to him with this, and I knew him as kind of an acquaintance. His son I was teaching catechism at the time. I think it was like first or second grade. I can't remember, but I was teaching catechism at our church, and one of his sons was in my class, and that's kind of how I met him, shook hands with him, and got to know him just a little bit. But now that I know of him, I actually have quite a bit in common with him. He's actually we both grew up in New York, and upstate New York is where he's from, and I had family up there, and so I actually have a lot in common with Steve. But yeah, because I knew he was a man of influence. I just one day I went up to him and I told him what I was doing. I handed him the USB card of the My Catholic Faith, and I said, Steve, just listen to this, tell me what you think, and we'll go from there. So after about 30 days, I didn't hear anything from him. He kind of shied away. It was, we do it all the time. I've done it before. Somebody wants you to watch or listen to something, and you just constantly tell them, "Oh yeah, I'll get to it." And you after a while, you start feeling guilty because you didn't do what you said you were going to do and listen to it. Well, anyways, he finally did eventually listen to it, and he was like, "Hey, you got something here." But when I first introduced myself and gave him the USB card, he planted a seed in my head, and he's like, yeah, you need to have like some sort of e-commerce website for this. And then I was like, you know what, yeah, I gotta get back into this thing. Because this thing could be very big. It could be very big. I don't know how big. I'll let the Lord decide how big. But so I just made that decision. So I went back to the drawing board. It had already been several years. I probably lost I didn't renew the name, the mycatholicfaithcatechism.com. So I scrapped that, and I just decided to, it's got to be bigger than that. It's got to be bigger than just one book. It's got to be a whole plethora of books, because there's tons and tons and tons of Catholic books that are out there that are in the public domain that, people may or may not know about. But they're in PDF format and they're on the web, but me personally, that drives me nuts. And, it's probably one of the reasons why I wear glasses, because we're sitting here reading in front of a computer or a screen, all of our lives. It does a number on your eyes, I can't read more than 10 minutes. 10, 15, 20 minutes before I start losing concentration and stuff. So I told myself that there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a better way than just, to be able to turn these books into audio format. And then that's when I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So I changed the website, got a new domain, and we did stlouis.media. Was the website, stlouis.media. And then okay, so we have the flagship product, the My Catholic Faith. And then what I was going to do is we were going to crowdfund the other books. I was going to use crowdfunding for people to donate, and I had a benchmark. I knew how much money it was going to take and how long it was going to take for the My Catholic Faith. So then I was going to gauge, okay, all these other different books that were either less or more. I kind of had an idea of how long and how much money it was going to take to get each book written in, or read by a professional voiceover. And so so when we launched, and and with the help of Mr. Skocek over at 1 Peter 5, he ended up, kind of putting he wrote an article on the website, and he kind of helped push and get people to follow, and also get people to purchase the My Catholic Faith. And that's all we had. It was just one product. That's all we had. And then he took... that kind of, got the website stlouis.media recognized. And I had some momentum going. And after about 30 days to 60 days, reality kicked in and said, that crowdfunding was just not the answer. This was not the answer. The second coming of Christ was going to happen before anybody donates a single dollar to crowdfund these other books. So then I scrapped that idea, and then I said, what else are we going to do? How am I going to do this? There's so many books out there, and I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it. So originally I was gonna do it myself. I said I'll read it, and that lasted about a day. That idea. And then I was toying with the idea of using text-to-speech technology. And at first it turned me off, and I was like, there's nobody who's going to want to listen to this stuff. It's computer being read. No, because it just sounds so artificial. It just, nobody's going to want to buy this stuff. But then, I don't know. Part of me is like, it's got to get done. I'm more, I'm a Marine. I believe in improvising, adapting, and overcoming a situation. And I do know that, as a Catholic, we need to embrace our sufferings, and we need to embrace our shortfalls, our stuff that, our infirmities that, St. Paul talks about, embracing those, not really, being prideful of our infirmities, but just in embracing them, embracing the suffering. So part of me was like, you know what? Okay. It's going to be cheaper and more affordable and faster to get done if I can get these audiobooks turned into audiobooks using text-to-speech technology. I'm going to embrace that. We're going to be the first and only company on the entire internet that just solely sells audiobooks in digital format that is read by a computer. And that's it. So I decided to embrace that, and that's what we do. So, again, the flagship product is the My Catholic Faith book. It's the only book that we have in our entire inventory where it is not read by a computer. It's actually read by a human. But the rest of our books so far are all read. It is text-to-speech technology, but I like to say AI technology, artificial intelligence, because it is getting better. The technology is getting better. It's improving. And in some cases, it doesn't sound like a computer. Some cases, it does not sound like a computer that's reading to you. It's not perfect. It is a lot of what you see is what you get. But I look at it from this point. Again, the mission, what is the mission? The mission is saving souls, period. That's it. Doesn't matter how you get the information. It might, you might, again, all of this stuff that Saint Louis Bois de France Media does, it's all out there and it's free, okay? All of the books that are out there, they're free. Some of them you have no choice. You have to go buy. But other books the majority of them are going to be on the internet. They're PDF format. They're in text. They're on websites. It's all free. But what we do is we aggregate and we put it into a format that you can use. So we're kind of going to wrap it up here. I'm just going to spend the next few minutes talking about the website and talking about what features are available to you. So right now, if I'm going to just talk about Saint Louis Bois de France Media and stlouis.media, the website. So when you go to the website, at the top of the screen, you have a My Account page, you have a Shop page, a Listen Now page. So basically, we again, primarily what we do is we sell audiobooks, and we have a short library right now. And again, we're constantly working on different books. And as a matter of fact, the one book that we're working on right now, as of this recording, is the history of heresies and their refutation by Saint Alphonsus Liguori. So that's what we're working on currently right now. I've got about 10 more chapters to go. I'm on refutation number 6. So I've done the heresies of all the way through the 18th and 19th centuries. And now we're working on the refutations, kind of like the answers to it. So got about 10 more chapters to do. Hopefully should be done here in the next few days. So St. Louis, you go to stlouis.media. You have the My Account shop now, or the Listen. And throughout the website, there's different places where you can click, where you can take a look at stuff. If you kind of scroll down, it talks about what we are. Again, these books are traditional. Before Vatican II, these are books that are in the public domain. These are books that usually carry some sort of imprimatur or imprimatur, depending on how you talk about it or speak. That's the that is that there's nothing controversial in it. That's not any controversial Catholic teaching that's against the teachings of the Church. And these are all audiobooks. Again, these are MP3 format files, zip folders specifically that you're going to be purchasing. And then you keep scrolling down. Why San Luis Roi de France Media. And then we have a section called the Members Only section. And this is, I really, really like what I was trying to do was I was trying to create something that was like Audible. Audible is a very, everybody knows Audible. Everybody knows Audible. Audible is basically owned by Amazon. But what you do with Audible, and if you're not familiar with it, is you basically you purchase, or I say lease or rent. You rent a app, and then you get to purchase books in all kinds of categories, and you can listen to these books on the app, on your phone, on a tablet, whatever the case may be. The problem with that is you never get actual file ownership. Okay, I was originally I was looking into this for an app to do that, to be able to create an application where you can, like Audible, where you can actually, for a monthly fee, listen, download it and listen to all of our audiobooks on this app. But that was, I don't know, that was also going to get expensive. So I decided not to do that. So, but then I decided to, maybe if we make it available online. Available online. And that's what I did. I decided to make it available online. And so we have a members only section. And what we created was we have different memberships on stlouis.media. And in the members only area, you see the different books that we have. The My Catholic Faith, Mystical City of God, Humility of Heart, the Dolorous Passion of Our Lord Jesus Christ, the Four Last Things, Sinner's Guide, Catechism of the Council of Trent, the Latin Mass Explained. As of this recording, that's what we have so far, and the Devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So basically, you would click on one of those, and it would go to that page. But, obviously it tells you, hey, to have access to this, you got to purchase one of the memberships, right? And so, you would click on one of those memberships and then there you go. Okay, so what our memberships do is it allows you to be able to test the waters and kind of listen to you. There's there's a a trial period. You put in your credit card information, but it's not charged. You're only there's a grace period of a few days, depending on it could be 7 days or 14 days. Normally it's going to be about 7 days. You'll get about 7 days where your credit card is not going to be charged, and you'll be able to listen to the MP3 files online, right? And every membership contains an added benefit of a discount. So this is what I really love about what we're doing here at Saint Louis Bois de France Media, and it separates us from Audible, because Audible, when you download the app, you pay a monthly fee every single month to Audible, even after you purchase the book. So you buy this $34 book, but if you want to listen to that book, you're always going to have the app, and you're always going to have to pay a monthly fee to listen to that app. You're renting the app on Audible. You don't have true file ownership. So let's just say you're testing the waters and you purchase one of our memberships. You purchase the bronze membership. The bronze membership is month to month, $9.99 a month. So that's the lowest membership. So you purchase that. Well, what does that give you? Well, one of the benefits is that, number one, you can now listen to all of the audio books online, month to month, for $9.99 a month. So you get to listen to no matter how many books we have. Right now we only have a few, but we're going to keep adding more and more. I mean, we could have 20 or 30 here in the next year or two. So you would be able to listen to every single one of those you don't have to pay for them. You could just listen to them online for $9.99 a month. But what if you listen to a particular book and you want to own it? You want to download the file. Well, then you already have a membership, so then you would actually click add it to your cart, and you could purchase it, and you would get a discount off of the main tag price. Okay, so at the membership, at the bronze level, you get a 40% discount. 40% discount. So when you buy a bronze membership, if you listen to a particular book and you like the book and you add it to your cart, you're going to get a 40% discount on that book. Okay, but then you'll get to actually own the file. You download the zip file. Okay, and when you go to our website, you're purchasing a zip folder. Okay, there's a lot of people that use iPhones and iPads. When they purchase this product, they have a tough time trying to listen to this stuff. Well, that's because you're purchasing a zip file. You got to unzip the files first. You got to extract everything first before you can actually listen to all this stuff. Just keep that in mind, especially if you use iPhone or an iPad or anything with Macintosh or Apple. Definitely want to make sure you unzip the files first, because you're actually purchasing a zip folder when you actually download these files. So the bronze membership is the lowest membership. It's $9.99 a month. Comes with a free trial. After the free trial, then you're going to be charged, and then you'll still have access to every single audio online. You can listen to, as long as you're logged in, you can listen to them wherever, on your phone, at home, wherever the case may be, and then you get a 40% discount off of every book. That's the bronze. The next membership is our silver membership. That's an annual fee. It's $59.88, which actually comes out to about $6.99, or it's actually $4.99 a month. But some people might want to just purchase up front an entire year of listening, and so but the silver membership affords you 60% discount. So you have access to online for an entire year of all of our books, And then all of us, and then if you listen to a book that you like and you want to purchase it and own the actual file, add it to your cart and you get 60% off because you're a silver, you have the silver membership. And then we have the gold. Again, that's also a year. It's a little bit more expensive. It's $6.99 a month for an entire year. So you're charged $83.88 for an entire year. Again, free trial period, but you get 75% discount. If you get the gold membership and you want a 75% discount, you're going to be able to, again, when you get the membership, still listen to every single one of our files online. That's an annual membership. And we're constantly putting out new material. We're constantly, over time, we're adding more books. So our library is going to get bigger and get bigger and bigger and bigger. One day we might have 50 or 60 different books that you can listen to all online. And at any time you want to purchase one of those, depending on what membership level you're on, if you're on the bronze membership, 40% discount. Silver membership, you get a 60% discount. Gold membership, 75% discount. Okay, so it just depends on how much money you think you're going to spend. And then the biggest, and obviously I think quite honestly the best, is going to be the platinum membership. And this is where because you don't know how much you're going to listen to. And I think this is going to be really big because I've already got I've got hundreds of books that I'm looking at turning into audiobooks here. I have hundreds of files, and it's just a matter of time, before I can get these things into audio format. But I do believe the library is going to be that big at one time. Maybe it might make sense to just make a one-time payment of $249.99. But then you get, not only will you be able to listen to every single one of our books online for life, but you'll be able to download every single one of these books for free. You won't have to pay another dime. You only make one-time payment and you're grandfathered in. And no matter how many books we add to our library, you'll never pay another dime. And as soon as that book is uploaded, you can just download it, add it to your cart, don't pay a dime, and download it, and it's yours. And you own the file. And again, that's what separates St. Louis Media from Audible is file ownership. File ownership. You may purchase a $42 book on Audible, but you have to pay a monthly fee every single month to listen to that app, because if you cancel your membership with Audible, do you get to listen to that book that you just spent $45 on? The answer is no, you don't. So it's not true file ownership. That's what's different with us. Right now our library is very small, but it's going to get bigger. And we're definitely going to need your prayers on this. It's no easy task. Sometimes I have a lot of momentum and I get a lot of stuff done. Other times, not so much. But I'm trying. All right. Well, actually, I'm kind of surprised. We're definitely coming up on an hour here. A lot longer than I was hoping. 27 minutes is kind of what I was hoping for. But in order to get all of this in, I guess it had to have been an hour. So it kind of, and I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up now. The short of it is again, what I plan on doing with the podcast is just is mostly commentary and education, talking about the different books. We're not going to be talking about like current events and stuff like that. This is mostly stuff that's in the public domain. These are books that have been written for years and in some cases centuries. That's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about these different books. What do they mean? What did it say? How does it resonate with you? How does it make you feel? What is it telling us to do, to say, to feel? So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about in these podcasts. I don't know when I'm going to be doing the next podcast. I really don't. I have no idea. So, but hopefully I'll have a much better game plan and some talking points, a lot more scripted, and that way you'll be able to probably follow along a lot better uh, than than I am like right now, kind of just going off the top of my head. But anyways, go to stlouis.media, check it out, tell people about it. We're constantly working on different books. Again, right now, as of this recording, we're still working on the history of heresies and their refutation, which is it's called The Triumph of the Church. It's by Saint Alphonsus Liguori. We do have some other books that are going to be produced. So stay tuned. Check out the website stlouis.media. Check out our different memberships. Spread the word. Let people know about stlouis.media, the website, and let them know about Saint Louis Bois de France Media. Oh, and and I completely forgot about why Saint Louis Bois de France Media. Well, number one, because it's what is it? Obviously, it's Saint Louis, King of France, is what it is. But why? Why pronounced Saint Louis Bois de France Media? Well, that's French, obviously. I personally think it sounds cool, but it's more. I think it's more efficacious. It's kind of like when the book or when the movie For Greater Glory came out. I refer to that because prior to that, a lot of Catholics didn't even know about the Viva Cristo Rey, right, which is Long Live Christ the King in Spanish. And but ever since that movie, a lot of people have started saying Viva Cristo Rey. Even though it Long Live Christ the King, it just sounds more efficacious. Saint Louis Bois de France Media. It's French, right? It's French, and I also, and the reason why I chose St. Louis, there's a lot of different. There's a parallel between him and Christ. There's a photo of his loving mother, Queen Blanche. She and him are at an altar at the foot of a crucifix, and it's a picture of her, and she's pointing to Jesus, and she's saying pretty much that she would rather him die than commit one mortal sin, just one. She would rather him die than commit sin. And I think it's an interesting parallel. She's a holy queen, right? And in her hands, she's holding her son, who is an earthly king of France, or to be the earthly king of France. And she's saying, if I would rather you die than commit sin. And yet it is our Blessed Mother who's holding the King of Kings in her arms, who had actually just died for sin. And specifically, it's the Pieta, and the most obviously the most famous Pietas in Rome, but also in the Basilica de Notre Dame, that is at the altar, is the Pieta of Our Lady holding her son in her arms after he had just died for sin. And then you have St. Louis, who his mother did not want him to commit that sin. She would rather him die than to commit sin. So I think it's an interesting parallel between St. Louis and our Lord Jesus Christ. Just something to think about. I don't know if it really is any significance to it, but I think it's pretty neat. But anyways, that's why I chose Saint Louis Roi de France Media. I think it's a little bit more efficacious to say the words in the native language, since he is a French king, and France is the eldest daughter of the church. Hopefully, one day she'll return. A lot of holy saints came out of France. We need more. So with that, thank you very much for listening to the Saint Louis Roi de France Media podcast. This is podcast number 1. This is the inaugural podcast. We will be coming to you with more in the near future. Do pray for us, okay? Spread the word. I don't know where this is going. I have no clue. But hopefully with your help, with your support, we'll get this message out to as many people as possible. And thank you very much for listening. Take care. God bless. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
You've been listening to the St. Louis Roi de France Médias podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as subscribing to our blog at stlouis.media. To purchase our audiobooks or to receive discounts on audiobooks by purchasing a membership, go to stlouis.media. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, please like and share our content. Pax Christi.